What's up guys and welcome back to the channel. Recently, there has been a massive resurgence of Luke Skywalker making his way into the book of Boba Fett, and therefore we wanted to make a video to fill you guys in on everything that has happened from Return of the Jedi now to the book of Boba Fett, and produce a video that would sort of explain what Luke Skywalker has been up to, what his goals have been in those 5 years, why he hasn't taken Jedi students up until now, and far more, and make a video that will sort of help to fill in the gaps for those of you that may not have read all of the books and all of the comic books that Luke has appeared in since Return of the Jedi. So without further ado, acolytes of a galaxy far away, let's go ahead and get into it and break down what Luke has been up to since Return of the Jedi to the events of the book of Boba Fett. So, what all has Luke been doing since the Battle of Endor and the construction of his new academy? The first thing Luke Skywalker did was attempt to take upon him a brand new student, that being his own sister, Leia Organa. However, Leia would eventually decide not to go down the Jedi path after sensing the death of her son, the unborn Ben Solo, at the end of her Jedi journey. But it is believed that this is the first thing that Luke Skywalker attempted to do after Return of the Jedi, as we saw in The Rise of Skywalker. Shortly after this, and after departing Endor, Luke chased a call that sent him to the mostly aquatic planet of Pilio. This of course takes place in the campaign for Star Wars Battlefront 2, whereas you play as Luke Skywalker going through this mission, fighting off scours of stormtroopers along the way. Deeper into the island, Luke went until he was led into a cave where he met Del Meeko, who at the time was actually stuck in amber. Desperate, he ultimately decided to ask his enemy Luke for help, and Luke actually obliged him, using his lightsaber to carefully cut apart the amber. Afterwards, we get, in my opinion, one of the best Luke Skywalker moments in all of canon. Whenever Meeko asks Luke why he ultimately decided to help him, Luke simply replies, "Because you asked." I love this moment because we get to see Luke's heart on full display as a true Jedi Knight, compassionate and caring towards all people regardless of their allegiances if they only have the faith to ask for help. During the rest of this mission, Meeko and Luke decide to work together, fighting their way towards their ultimate goal, that being one of the Emperor's many vaults. Several times during the mission, Luke continuously saves Meeko's life, whether it be from falling rocks or skritters, dangerous animals that live on the world. Once they ultimately reach the bunker, all Luke desires of the mission is a compass that was hidden within the vault, and he asks Meeko if he can ultimately keep it. Meeko reveals that it is his mission to destroy the vault and everything in it. But here's where we get another beautiful moment with Luke. Meeko says, "Why should I let you have it?" To which Luke simply replies, "Because I asked." I love these moments because throughout the mission, Meeko tells Luke that he grew up as a boy on Coruscant, terrified of the Jedi and what they could do. In this moment, Luke attempts to change his mind on the Jedi and the tales that Meeko has heard about them. In this mission, Meeko watched as Luke cuts down hordes of stormtroopers and skritters without breaking a sweat, while also displaying the awesome power of the Force. And even though Luke could easily overpower him and take the compass by force, he respects him by simply asking for it. In the end, Luke leaves with his prize, and Meeko leaves with his views of the Jedi and the Empire turned upside down. Next up, there's actually quite a time jump, as we pick up with Luke Skywalker in the 4-part comic series known as Shattered Empire. This takes place again a couple of months after the Battle of Endor, and Luke takes a journey to one of the remaining Imperial research outposts on Ventine. This outpost, which has one of the last pieces of a Force-sensitive tree. This tree is important to Luke as it was actually an integral part of the original Jedi Temple on Coruscant, as the Force-sensitive tree grew within the courtyard of the temple, and Luke Skywalker views this as one of the last remaining relics of the previous generation of the Jedi, and therefore it is extremely important to him. In order to get the tree, Luke took with him Shara Bey, who was one of the fighter pilots against the second Death Star. Together, the two stuck their way into the base and retrieved the tree fragment. During this mission, Shara divulged some of her problems to Luke. She revealed that she was conflicted about wanting to leave the rebellion so that she and her husband, Kas Dameron, could have her son, Poe Dameron. As they fight their way out of the base, Luke gives her some wise counsel and guides her on her path to the decision to ultimately leave with her family and set up on Yavin 4. In the end, Luke Skywalker ultimately receives a piece of the fragmented tree, excited at the prospects of what this means for his new Jedi Order. This gives us important hints of where Luke Skywalker Skywalker's mindset was at. We know during the events between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, Luke was also searching for Jedi relics, as there were no real teachers for Luke Skywalker besides Yoda. Because of this, Luke Skywalker believed that he would gain much of his training through relics and ancient pieces of Jedi lore and tradition. This is why he is seeking to rebuild his new generation of Jedi by learning as much as he can about the previous versions of the Order, collecting the compass and the piece of the tree. Luke doesn't yet perceive himself as a Jedi Master, and he won't for several more years. First though, he is a complete student, because we have to remember at this point in time, Luke Skywalker is only a Jedi Knight, as the destruction of the second Death Star and turning his father Vader back to the light side served as his Jedi trials when he transitioned from a Padawan into a Knight. And finally, when we see him in the Book of Boba Fett is when he ascends to the rank of Master. Still though, this 5-year time gap is that transitional period from Knight to Jedi Master. It's here where the timeline of Luke Skywalker gets a little bit more muddled, as we don't have a lot of information on what he was up to during this period of time, essentially the 4 years between where we last saw him to the Book of Boba Fett. However, just because we don't have a lot, we do have something. In the book, The Legends of Luke Skywalker, there are a couple of disconnected stories told by different people about Luke. In this book, we get to see how much of an impact Luke was leaving on the galaxy post Return of the Jedi, and how he was slowly becoming more and more of a legendary figure, known especially by the likes of the Empire, his greatest enemy. Perhaps this is one of the catalysts for Moff Gideon gaining his intense fear for Luke Skywalker, that of course was on full display in the second season of The Mandalorian. Another account in this book details Luke leaving on an unidentified mysterious mission shortly after the birth of Ben Solo. In issue number 10 of the Vader comic book series, we get to see the story of how Jocasta Nu infiltrated the Jedi Temple, post Order 66, which if you watched our video about the 3 Jedi Masters, you might know that Jocasta Nu left a huge trove of Jedi knowledge which was ultimately found by Luke Skywalker at some point during his various journeys. With this new vast knowledge base, Luke Skywalker began to delve deeply into the study of Jedi lore and learn all about the old code and their practices, with this being one of the most important parts of Luke Skywalker's journey and one of the basic treasure troves that he would come across, with this second library established by Jocasta Nu being where Luke Skywalker would likely ultimately found some of his core beliefs as a Jedi Master. This would explain the wiser and more skilled Luke that we are currently seeing in The Mandalorian as well as the Book of Boba Fett. This is a Luke who has already been on a few of his journeys towards Jedi knowledge and has begun stepping into his own as a teacher. This is also likely the moment in the discovery that led Luke to believe that he was ready to transition from a Knight to a Master. In addition to this though, there are a few comics which detail Luke's travels to Moraband, one of the Sith homeworlds. In The Last Jedi Visual Dictionary, we get a backstory on a few sacred texts that Luke has with him in the tree on Ahch-To. One of these Sith books was known as the Ramagon, an influential work that was thought destroyed over 5,000 years ago, but was ultimately retrieved by Luke Skywalker while he explored the ruins of Ossus, which is the original founding planet of the Jedi Order. This is an important detail as it shows that Luke Skywalker was interested in not only collecting Jedi texts, but also Sith texts. In Legends, it is believed that Ossus is the planet where the Jedi truly came into their own, after leaving the planet of Tython, and in Legends, this occurred after the Second Great Schism. This, however, was not the only book that Luke Skywalker collected, as he collected another one called the Aeonomika, which was another 2-volume collection of Jedi explorations and codifications of the Force. Luke would ultimately compile much of what he learned into a single book, which he called The Secrets of the Jedi. In addition to this, we also know at some point in time Luke Skywalker collected a broken red kyber crystal, again an example of his exploration of the darker aspects of the Force. However, it's likely that Luke Skywalker received this after the events of the Book of Boba Fett, and therefore, our timeline of Luke Skywalker comes to an end, as where he appears in Star Wars canon is very sporadic between the events of Return of the Jedi and the Book of Boba Fett. And this is all we have so far concerning the timeline of post-Return of the Jedi and current Book of Boba Fett Luke. With Whispers of a Jedi Academy series coming, hopefully we may get to see more of Luke's adventures as he searches for knowledge and truth, as well as takes upon him more Jedi students. But anyway friends, what do you think? Would you like to see Luke Skywalker go spelunking into the dark, sunken ancient Jedi temple ruins, guided only by the green light of his lightsaber, as he battles off hordes of large insects, solves riddles, and converses with the spirits of the past in search of more Jedi lore? Comment below what you're most excited to see in the upcoming Star Wars projects, and as always, may the Force be with you and have an amazing day.